What if I told you that true satisfaction in life comes not from pursuing personal achievements and accolades, but from entrusting every aspect of your existence to God? In today's message, we explore the profound peace and purpose that emerge when we surrender fully to God's will. This isn't just about occasional faith. It's about a constant, unwavering trust that transforms how we live daily. Trusting God with your entire life means more than just acknowledging Him during times of need. It involves a continuous, deep-seated belief in His sovereignty over every aspect of your existence. This trust challenges us to look beyond our limited understanding and lean on God's infinite wisdom, allowing His hand to guide every action and decision we make. Surrender to God is not a sign of defeat, but a bold affirmation of His omnipotence and love. When we surrender, we give God the permission to use our lives for His greater purposes, which far surpass anything we could plan or imagine. This submission is not passive. It's an active, dynamic engagement with God that empowers us to live fully in His grace. Letting go of the illusion of control is liberating yet challenging. It involves understanding that while we play a role in making decisions, the ultimate outcome is always in God's hands. This realization helps us to relieve anxiety and accept peace, trusting that God orchestrates the larger narrative of our lives for good. The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, is a protective guard around our hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. It does not mean that challenges won't come, but rather that in the midst of turmoil, we can maintain an unshakable calm, knowing our lives are governed by a loving, capable God. To walk by faith is to navigate life based on conviction rather than perception. It means trusting in God's promises and His character, even when our circumstances seem to contradict His word. This walk requires a belief in the unseen and an understanding that what we perceive is not all that exists. There's a profound joy found in completely committing to God. This joy stems from an understanding that when God directs our lives, He aligns us with His divine plan, which is designed for our ultimate happiness and His glory. It's a joy that thrives on trust and flourishes in the assurance of God's love. Fear is a common human experience, but as believers we are called to counter fear with faith. This means recognizing God's power over every situation we face. Faith enables us to move beyond fear, stepping into God's promises and provisions with confidence. Every act of trust in God is an opportunity to see His faithfulness in action. As we look back over the times we've trusted God, we can see a pattern of His unfailing provision and care, which builds our faith and encourages us to trust Him even more. A surrendered life becomes a powerful testimony to others. It shows the peace and assurance that come from living under God's rule. This testimony is not about our own goodness, but about God's ability to perfectly direct a life that is fully yielded to Him. Paul's message in 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9 about God's strength being made perfect in weakness is a cornerstone for Christian living. It teaches us that our greatest limitations can become sites of God's greatest interventions, where His power is made manifest in our lives. As we surrender to God, we receive the benefit of His infinite wisdom. He guides us in decisions large and small, providing insights that go beyond our understanding. This guidance is a daily manifestation of God's love, ensuring we walk the best path for our lives. A heart of gratitude is cultivated through recognition of God's continuous presence and intervention in our lives. As we acknowledge His goodness, even in small things, we develop a deeper sense of thankfulness that enriches our relationship with Him. A purpose-driven life is one aligned with God's eternal objectives, not just earthly goals. This alignment brings clarity and focus, helping us to avoid distractions and invest our energies in pursuits that have lasting impact and eternal value. God's provision goes beyond material needs. It includes spiritual, emotional, and relational resources. Trusting in His provision means believing that He will supply all we need to fulfill His purposes, often in ways we couldn't have anticipated. Embracing God's timing requires patience and trust. It means believing that He knows the best times for all things in our lives. This trust frees us from anxiety over the future and allows us to live in the present moment, fully engaged with where He has placed us now. A legacy of faith is built by living a life that bears witness to the reliability and truth of God's promises. It's about influencing others through our faith journey, leaving behind a trail of spiritual markers that guide others closer to God. There is great freedom found in living according to God's will. This freedom comes from knowing we are making choices that align with divine wisdom, which liberates us from the consequences of poor decisions and aligns us with God's abundant life. The biblical call to renew our minds is about embracing thoughts and attitudes that reflect God's truths. It involves daily rejecting worldly values and understanding, and instead embracing spiritual truths that transform how we perceive and interact with the world. Resting in God's timing isn't passive. It's an active trust that acknowledges God's perfect sense of timing over our own. It embraces the belief that He orchestrates the best outcomes at the best times, teaching us patience and deepening our faith as we wait. Finally, celebrating God's unchanging love means recognizing that no matter what we face, God's love remains steadfast and unconditional. It's about letting this unchanging truth anchor our lives, giving us the confidence to face whatever comes with courage and joy. Let's join together in prayer, giving thanks for the abundant life that comes from surrendering to God's will. Let us ask for strength to trust Him more deeply and the courage to follow wherever He leads. Together, we can experience the profound peace and fulfillment that come from putting everything in God's capable hands.